Once upon a time, in 1947, the world was trying to find peace after a great and terrible war had ended. In Palestine, people dreamed of a future. They dreamed of living in their own homes with their families, in peace. But in Palestine, two groups of people, the Jews and the Arabs, both wanted the land to be their own. They both had deep roots and strong feelings about this special place. The UN made a big decision in a big building far away. The building is where the world's countries unite to talk and solve problems. They said, we need to help solve this problem in Palestine, so they formed a special group. The United Nations Special Committee on Palestine, or UNSCOP, called it. This group had people from many countries. These countries include Australia, Canada, and India. UNSCOP had a very important job. They were tasked with thinking hard and devising a plan for Palestine. They wanted to make sure everyone could live there peacefully. So, they traveled far and wide, listened to many people, and learned much about Palestine. After much thinking and talking, on September 3, 1947, UNSCOP devised a plan. They suggested that Palestine should split in two. One part is for the Arab people, and the other is for the Jewish people. And there was also a special city called Jerusalem, which was very important to both groups. They said the UN should look after Jerusalem because it was so special. But the plan was not simple. The land for the Arab state and the Jewish state would not be in one big piece. They would be in different parts. Also, the Arab state would have a few Jews. The Jewish state would have many Arabs. This made things very complicated. The people in Palestine and nearby leaders had many different thoughts. The Jewish people in Palestine, called the Yishuv, mostly agreed with the plan. They wanted a place to call their own. But some Jewish groups opposed the plan. They didn't want to lose Jerusalem or have their land split. The Arab people, who were the majority in Palestine, did not like the plan. They felt it was unfair because it didn't give them enough land, and many Arabs would end up living in the Jewish part. The leaders from the Arab countries didn't agree with the plan either. They said it was wrong to make a Jewish state in Palestine. On November 29, 1947, a big meeting happened at the UN. Countries from all over the world voted on the plan. In the end, 33 countries said yes to the plan, but 13 said no, and 10 didn't choose a side. The Jewish people in Palestine were happy with the vote. But the Arab people and the countries nearby were very unhappy. They even considered asking a big court if the UN could divide Palestine, but they did not pursue that idea. The plan said the new Arab and Jewish states would start officially. It also said the special city of Jerusalem would start. This would happen after the British soldiers who ruled Palestine left. This was supposed to happen by October 1, 1948, at the latest. Even though we made the plan with hope, it resulted in more disagreements and fighting. The division of Palestine is a very sad and complicated story. It shows how hard it is for people to share a land they all love deeply. This story doesn't have a simple ending, and people are still trying to find peace today. This tale is long and full of tough moments, but it reminds us of the need for understanding, kindness, and the courage to hope. We hope for a future where everyone can live in peace. We are still writing the story, but it teaches us that working together to solve problems, even the tough ones, it is the only way to make the world better for everyone. The committee decided in November 1947 it was to divide the land so that both the Jews and the Arabs could have their own countries. The intention was to be fair with this idea, but it made many people unhappy and scared. They didn't want to share or lose their homes. Almost right after the decision, disagreements turned into fights. People were very angry and hurt each other. Countries that favored the decision faced attacks on their buildings. Cafes were places where people sat and drank coffee. Shops were where families bought groceries. Even someone damaged and set a place where people preyed on fear. Someone shot at cars and trucks. In some areas, people couldn't even walk outside without fear. Neighbors who once lived in peace now faced anger and sadness. Fear and confusion filled the land during this time. People who had once lived in peace were now fighting. As the British, who were in charge of Palestine, started to leave, the fighting got even worse. Many sad stories emerged of people getting hurt and families losing loved ones. Among these stories was a very sad day in a village called Deir Yassin. Many people suffered injuries. This made many others scared and angry. Despite the sadness and fear, there was a man named David Ben-Gurion. He dreamed of making a new country where Jewish people could live peacefully. On May 14, 1948, The British were about to leave for good. Ben-Gurion stood up and announced the birth of Israel. He talked about hope and the right to live freely. He promised to treat everyone equally in this new country. It would not matter their religion, race, or origin. He said this new country would be a place. In it, different people could live together peacefully. They would respect the holy places that were special to everyone. This announcement was joyous for some, but it also made others even more worried. The new country of Israel was like a tiny boat launched into a stormy sea, with many challenges ahead. The story of how Israel came to be and the fights that happened before and after is long and complicated. It's about people who loved their land and dreamed so much that they fought for them. But it's also about how fighting can lead to sadness and hurt. It reminds us that living together in peace is hard, but important. This tale has dark moments, but also sparks of hope. They hope that people can learn to share and live in peace. They should respect each other's dreams and histories. It teaches us that people can do great things even in hard times. They need to treat each other with kindness and fairness. The story of this land continues. Each day is a chance to write a new page of peace, understanding, and coexistence. In 1948, a very important year, something big happened. The British, who had been in charge of Palestine, decided it was time to leave. They left. They wanted the people living in Palestine to create a future. The Jews proclaimed a new country called Israel, hoping for a home where they could live in peace. But this declaration led to a great conflict. Neighboring countries didn't agree. They were Jordan, Syria, Egypt, and Iraq. They didn't agree with the creation of Israel. They felt worried and upset. They thought they should share the land differently. They had concerns about the Arab people living there. The Arab residents living there caused them to worry. So, they decided to step in, hoping to change the course of events. The leaders of these countries said they wanted to help bring peace. They also want to ensure the safety of everyone living in the land and that they can live together. They talked about important ideas. One is self-determination. People can choose how they want to live and who governs them. As the fighting began, it was a very hard and sad time. This big conflict caught many people, including Arabs and Jews in the middle. People emptied villages. Many people had to leave their homes, carrying only their hopes and memories. Some left because someone told them it was safer elsewhere. Others left because the battles around them scared them. During this time, many brave acts and many sad stories unfolded. Both sides fought battles over towns and roads, hoping to win and make the land theirs. But with every battle, there was loss and heartache. In the end, after much fighting, the war paused. The new country of Israel had grown, but so had the pain and the number of people who had to flee their homes. Countries like Jordan and Egypt found themselves caring for lands and people. They were trying to figure out what would come next. The leaders of these countries and Israel sat down and agreed to stop fighting for a while. They drew lines on maps to show residency areas. People knew them as armistice lines. But even with these lines, they had not settled everything. Many people loved Jerusalem for its sacredness. Jordan took care of one part, and Israel took care of another. As years passed, the story of this land and its people continued to unfold. It had moments of hope and moments of sadness. The war had changed Palestine. All who loved it could feel its echo in their hearts. They dreamed of peace and a home for everyone. This story is about the 1948-49 war and the people who lived through it. It is a reminder of how precious peace is and how hard it can be to find. It teaches us about the courage to hope for a better future and the strength to keep going, even when the path is unclear. The tale of this land has beauty and scars. It continues as a lesson from the past. It reaches out to the hearts of those in the present. It whispers the importance of understanding, kindness, and the endless quest for peace.